There's so much information out there for beginner artists, like so much more than, let's say, like 15, 20 years ago. Just on this channel, I've added like hundreds of videos in the last 5 to 6 years alone. So now artists are faced with a slightly different problem. Instead of lacking access to knowledge like back in the days, now there's so much knowledge easily accessible online that it's hard to filter out the noise. Like as a beginner artist, where do you even start? Who do you listen to? Is it true that bald teachers are the best? Yes. So which advice actually works versus which one will actually end up wasting your time? And before you discount this advice as coming from just another random YouTuber, if you're new here, I've personally been drawing for over 35 years now. First as a kid, then an amateur, then as a professional artist working as a game developer, and now as an art teacher. And I'm saying this because, of course, all of these years of experience have, of course, made me a better artist, but also made me wiser. So wise, in fact, that I've become bald. But where I lost something, you only stand to gain. Because I'm about to give you the best single piece of advice that a beginner artist should have, without you having to go through all the same trials and errors. And I'm not talking about how you should just practice more, like, or start by drawing boxes or learn your fundamentals, because although those are actually great, as a beginner, you don't need to focus on any of that just yet. So here it is. After all of these years, it's become clear that there's one thing, and one thing only, that beginner artists should focus on at first, and here it is. Any guesses? Copy. Copying is the answer. You should copy everything as a beginner. Copy photo references, copy other artists, copy real life, copy all the things. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it than it might seem, otherwise the video would be over. But we're only just scratching the surface. So here's actually all the stages of copying that you should follow as an artist. Or like how you should change your approach as you gain more experience to make sure you don't plateau immediately. As complete beginners, I think most of you just saw something cool one day and it made you want to draw it. For me, it was mangas like Dragon Ball.
So many.
And of course some animes from the 80s and 90s. That's from 2002. But yeah, I thought all of this was so cool, and short of buying a poster, because I didn't have any money, the closest thing I had was drawing them. And I'm sure just like me, you also saw something at some point that just made you want to pick up a pencil and start drawing. So at level 0, I think that's the absolute best thing you can do as an artist. Find something that gets you excited about drawing and then just copy it. At this stage, it should all be about just having fun. Now you might be asking, well, how do I actually copy? And the reality is that it doesn't really matter. Maybe you can place your reference like next to your drawing pad and copy it as best as you can. Maybe you can have something on TV and then you try to draw it on your pen tablet. So for that, you can use like still frames from an anime, the art of other artists, or maybe you just like sketching birds and plants from outside. Whatever it is you're into, it doesn't matter. Just focus on the fun of drawing your favorite things, because as you do more of that over time, things will start to change. So at level 0, you just want to focus on building like a good, healthy relationship with drawing, just something you enjoy doing for fun, you know? But as you're about to see, copying goes all the way to level 3. So then what comes after you've been copying for a little while? Like maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. As you copy over time, and I'm not talking about tracing here, like tracing is mostly pointless. So as you copy over time, I think it's pretty natural for most people to start getting maybe a little frustrated because, you know, you'll be able to see clearly how what you're drawing isn't exactly as good as the reference you're using. And this is where I think you would probably want to shift gears and move on to the next stage of copying, what I call educated copy. So that's going to be basically the difference between drawing something that you understand relatively well, you know, like something you're educated about, versus something that you don't understand at all. So to give you an easy way of maybe understanding what that might look like take somebody that's never drawn perspective at all, and you decide to copy this photo reference with a bunch of buildings in it. In most cases, this would take you a lot longer and you would make many more mistakes than if you understood just the basics of perspective. Like if you could instead explain somewhat what you're looking at. Or I guess it's also similar to many of you, I'm gonna guess, that have a little bit of an easier time, you know, drawing anatomy because you spend a lot of time at the gym working out. Knowing about the topic you're trying to copy helps a lot, and it's what's gonna allow you to keep improving. So to get better at it, really that's all you should do. Just learn a little bit more about the topic that you're trying to draw, and your copying skills should be able to, you know, improve to the next level. And then that would be when it becomes a little bit more beneficial to start looking into like the fundamentals of art, the basics at least. But lucky for you, I have a whole video going over all of them, so I'll link that down in the video description. But that would mean looking into the fundamentals of construction, gesture drawing, perspective, anatomy, design, color and light theory, and composition and storytelling, to start understanding why the things look the way they do. So after practicing educated copy for a little while, like when you feel like your skills are starting to plateau again, then it might be a good idea to move on to level 2 of copying, which I'm gonna call selective copy. Up until now, we've talked about copying, but we're copying like the entire reference, right? Like taking this photo and replicating it as, closely as possible. So instead, a selective copy would mean looking only at certain parts of the reference. Gesture drawing is a perfect example of selectively copying some parts of your reference. Like when you practice drawing gestures, usually you'll be on a timer for best results, like 2 or 3 minute poses. And during that time, you'll only really be able to capture certain visual elements of your reference, not the whole thing. Like no time for colors, no time for shading, no time to render anything, really. You only have time to draw the pose roughly. So that's what I mean by a selective copy. Copying only certain aspects of the reference. You're no longer doing one-to-one copies, and this is harder, obviously, better suited for someone who's looking to improve fast, and also someone who has a little bit of experience already. And you could get pretty granular with this stuff too, like maybe just copying the color palette of a certain artist that you like, or maybe copying just how a certain artist draws their eyes, or like the brush strokes of another, how somebody stylizes their line work. And I feel like I should clarify that all of this should be done for the sake of practice, right? Like don't go posting online making it sound like it's an original without crediting who you copied. That's just plagiarism. Just want to make sure nobody's thinking I'm encouraging that. As long as you disclose it's a study though, you should be good to go. And of course, throughout all of this, you can still practice one-to-one copies, right? And those should be easier now, if anything. But you will improve faster by switching over to selective copy for the most part, selectively copying different aspects of a multitude of references. That's actually one of the best way to train your eye as an artist. But ultimately, you'll want to graduate to level 3 of copying to be able to, at some point, develop your own art style and eventually also draw from imagination. And I'll tell you exactly how. But first, I would never be able to consistently make those free art videos for the last 5 to 6 years without the sponsor of this video. Me. Or rather, my art program, YTartschool for digital artists. My best-selling university equivalent art education from home. It's a complete curriculum to take complete beginners or more advanced artists all the way to pro level if that's what you want, or at the very least allow you to draw anything your mind can imagine. You get lifetime access to all the content, to our private Discord of almost 20,000 users, free updates for life, and I also put together a study guidebook to take your hand through all the content and exercises week by week, so you're never lost wondering what to do next. We just reached 30,000 students recently, so we started the big holiday sale a bit ahead of time to celebrate this crazy milestone, which means you'll be able to grab the entire program at half the regular price for a limited time. Check all the details down in the video description, and if you're already a student, thank you. I love you. Now here we are, level 3 of copying, which I'm gonna call edge case copy. Now at this level, you'll actually be approaching copying very similarly to how a concept artist in the video game industry or the film industry would. At level 3, you've probably been drawing for a little over a year, maybe more. So you should have a pretty substantial visual library at that point. And if you've noticed across all these levels, the more experience you gain, the less you copy. And this will certainly be the case here, where the idea will be to go into anything that you draw without a reference. Just going in, trying to draw as best as you can, like from memory, or also known as imagination. And then the second that you run into something where you're not 100% sure what the thing you're trying to draw should look like, which to be fair, should still be happening quite a lot, then that's when you would want to pull up a reference to patch that gap in knowledge. That's what level 3 is all about. Supplementing your existing knowledge with appropriate references whenever needed, only when needed, rather than copying everything one-to-one like we were doing at level 0. There's always going to be things that you don't know how to draw. I often use references myself the exact same way, but it's massively beneficial to try drawing without references first, then identify the knowledge gap, like something you realize you really have no idea how to draw accurately, and then fill that gap with the reference. And that's actually the best way for your brain to retain information long term. So I hope this helps. Copying is an essential skill as an artist, and hopefully now you know how to do it better or how exactly to improve at it. And I did mention earlier in the video going over all the art fundamentals, because that's going to be the key at getting better and better at copying. So I'll have it up on screen here in just a second. Most people don't know their art fundamentals, so why not join the top minority of artists and learn about it? I'll see you over there.